Hi there. My name is Michael Campion, and I play Jackson Fuller on Fuller House. And recently, I was informed that April 19th is International Congenital Diaphragmatic Hernia Awareness Day. And I actually took the time to, look up what this was, and it takes thousands of kids a year, and, I personally find that terrifying, I just want to say that my heart and soul goes out to all the families affected. I'm praying for you guys. Stay strong. I know that's really scary. I could not even imagine that. So, again, my prayers are out there for you guys. Stay strong.
Hey guys, what's going on? April 19th is Congenital Diaphragmatic Hernia Awareness Day. As you may or may not know, CDH affects thousands of kids a year, and the survival rate is nearly 50%. We are actually holding a charity telethon, and it'll be helpful if everyone can please donate to help the kids. I want to appreciate Don Ireland for reaching out to me and helping with this great cause.
Hi everyone, this is Ashley Lugo, and she's been a member for quite a while, and she's also a charity leader with one of the ACDHO charities. And Ashley's going to introduce herself, tell us where she lives, because we're trying to cover a lot of territory, and so just your state, and then tell us how you learned about CDH.
All right. So I'm Ashley Lugo, and I'm from Pennsylvania, but we're currently in North Carolina, near Jacksonville. My husband's military, so that's what brings us here to North Carolina very recently, within the last month actually. So I'm a newbie. And how I found out about cherubs. That's what you asked, right?
No, CDH.
CDH. Oh, okay. So my story. I found out about CDH at 16, 17 weeks pregnant with my daughter. I had an ultrasound at 16 weeks, and it wasn't until my next appointment, which was about 17 weeks, that they told me that they found something on the ultrasound, and it was a hernia. They didn't really have much information for me. The doctor seemed very concerned, and that she was going to refer me to maternal fetal medicine. Immediately, of course, the first thing you do when you get out of the doctor's office is Google. So that was where I got my information from, which was the worst thing you could probably do. The only thing I think I did back myself away from the internet, and I think that I just went about the internet in the wrong way. It's a great resource, but I went about it by Googling statistics and what is CDH, thinking that this is the worst, instead of looking maybe for support, a support group or something. So I did not come across cherubs at this point, and I distanced myself from the internet because all I was reading was horrible things and a lot of wrong information. So we went to maternal fetal medicine in Pennsylvania, a hospital in Pennsylvania near Reading, Wyomissing, Reading, and at this point, it was fairly quickly after she was diagnosed, and I found out she was a girl at that appointment. I was about 17, 18 weeks. After finding out she was a girl, they gave me, of course, devastating news, and the only option I felt there was to abort her. They left me with really no hope. I was young. They said I was just turning 23, that I was too young, that the baby probably wouldn't even survive in utero. I probably more complications to follow with CDH. They recommended amniocentesis and the long list of medical and history, etc. That was definitely a hard pill to swallow there. I kind of felt like, as I heard somebody else say, and it was, I think, said perfectly, like my child was just handed a death sentence. That was it. They did refer us to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, which was where my next appointment would be. And that appointment, I had to wait about 3 weeks to get in there. And those 3 weeks for me were long and the waiting game. So it was a hard pill to sit on for so long, waiting to hear anything else besides you should abort your child, which wasn't an option for me. We went to CHOP, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and that's about 2 hours away from where I was. And it's funny, I feel that one thing I don't remember much of that appointment. It's very lengthy, I remember, and I remember being exhausted, and it was a full day. But the only thing I really remember from that appointment was sitting down at the end of the appointment with surgeons and doctors, and them explaining what CDH was and the diagram. Surgeon drew us a diagram and explained it. Ariana had left-sided CDH. Her liver was down, which was, of course, a positive for us. And if they had to put a number on it, they gave us an 80% chance of survival, which that's a drastic difference for us when coming from them saying that she wasn't going to survive at all. So CHOP is where we got some hope and a little bit of relief. I am a worrywart. I was, as any mom would be, I was very stressed out. My husband's more level-headed. He's more thinks positive. So I think that kept me a little bit sane during the process. One of my big concerns was, how am I going to deliver here? It's 2 hours away. What if I go into labor? No hospitals around me even knew what CDH was. I didn't know anybody who knew what CDH was. It was just foreign to everybody that I spoke to. And we ended up, the only option that CHOP really gave me for moving there was Ronald McDonald, which is a great resource, I think, for and a place for families. At that time, they were booked, and it left me going insane, wondering how I was gonna get there for her birth. We took it upon ourselves to move to Philadelphia. It probably wasn't the best financial option, but that's what we did, and that's what we chose to do. So we moved to Philly, and it was about a month before she was born. I was about 10 to 15 minutes away from the hospital. I'm driving, and in December 28th to be exact, 2012, I went in for an appointment at CHOP, and I was 38 weeks and some odd days pregnant, uncomfortable, and they asked me if I was ready to deliver. And I, of course, was like, yeah, I want to get this over with. I want to get this done. And they scheduled to see an induction the following day. So December 29th is when I went in to get induced at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. If it's one thing that I could say looking back, is I wish I would have known that my scheduled surgeon was not going to be there. He was away at that time, and I didn't know that. I didn't have that information. So I was fine with that date, and the sooner the better in my head at that time. And we went in, and I was induced on December 29th. in the morning, and she was a long labor. She was born at 11:30 p.m. and they put her on my stomach very quickly. My husband cut the cord and they swept her away right to the room next door where they worked on her. I think for me, this is my first child, so I didn't know any different. I didn't know any better. I was more fearful even to touch her. I touched her, but I was thinking all I knew was that she was so fragile that she had a little cry, and that was it. I wasn't sure what I could do, what I couldn't do, and nobody really informed me of that, or you can't even prepare yourself for something like that. Excuse me. So she was taken into the room next to us, and my husband was watching from a little window. He was recording actually from the window, and it took them 30 to 40 minutes to intubate her. The surgeon or the doctor, I'm not even sure, who was trying to intubate her, and I have watched on the video, and I'm not sure why it took that long, but he just couldn't intubate her. And after that, they took her down to the NICU. I got to see her hours later, and I was wheeled down in the wheelchair and went up next to her. And of course, I'm biased, but I feel like I saw an angel. She was the most perfect thing I've ever laid eyes on, still to this day. And immediately, within 2-3 minutes, she started desatting, and we got kicked out. That was the last I saw her, I would say, healthy. And the reason I say that is because the following day when I saw her, she was double her size. She swelled up. She was born 7 pounds, and I believe it was 8 ounces. So now she was about 15 pounds. The following day, they did have to do ECMO immediately within 1 day, which was our last, in my head, was like last resort, but that was emergency. And she was very swollen. Again, she was double her size, so she couldn't open her eyes. Her eyes were swollen shut. To see that as a first-time parent at all is very extremely overwhelming. Needles and cords coming everywhere, and machines and beeping and everything. It was so foreign to me. And they told us that day that she would not make it past that first day. I was told that many times by several different people that came to speak to me. I felt very lost, to say the least. I felt like maybe I wasn't informed as much, but I believe that they were just trying to figure out where she stood at that moment in what they were going to do. But she pulled through for a little bit, and it was about she was about 3 weeks old. She was still on ECMO, and she got a clot in the circuit of the ECMO machine, and they almost lost her again. In those 3 weeks, I failed to mention that probably heard every single day that she would not make past today. She would not make it past today, and the next day, and the next day. Living that, I was, there's really no words to hear that every single day. I was mentally exhausted. I was drained. I was fighting, for her to keep myself sane and level-headed. I really put my trust in the doctors at that time. And I just kept telling them that I wanted them to continue to do what they needed to do to keep her here with me. And during the ECMO circuit, when it got clotted, they didn't think she was going to make it, and she did. She made it through that, and they needed to make a step at some point. She was already on now ECMO she didn't have her surgery, and she was already on ECMO for a month, and they decided to do her surgery, her CDH surgery, her repair, at a month old on ECMO, which was very risky. They performed that, and she did very well. I remember the surgeon coming out and explaining how her lungs were, and he had like a coin or a circled object, a button or something, and he said that her lungs were this big, and it was like the size of a penny. And that like kind of amazed, like I just couldn't understand that. I just didn't, it just didn't make sense to me. She did well with the CDH surgery. I also failed to mention that after birth, they saw that there was bleeding in her stomach. It wasn't a continuous bleed, but there was blood in her stomach, so she had internal bleed. They didn't know where it came from. She was tested for several things. I was tested a slew of things, blood tests, everything. My husband, they thought they were going to come with like an underlying cause, and they never found anything. That's something we'll always wonder about. I'm not a doctor, or I'm not a nurse or anything and medical professional, so I can't speak on that sense. I'm just speaking as a parent. But I will always wonder if it had anything to do with the 40-minute, her trying to be intubated. And that's something we'll never know, but as a parent, that always weighs on me. So she had her surgery, the repair, she was good, and they took her off ECMO a week later, and it was successful, and things started to look up a little bit. I had doctors and nurses coming to me saying that they she was the sickest baby in the NICU, that they can't believe she's here. It's a miracle, and she was really pulling through and really fighting. So she did have her ups and downs, and then ultimately her kidneys started to fail, and she started to swell back up again, very swollen, and they tried dialysis prior to this on the ECMO machine, which didn't work. It was very risky, and that's why they took her off of ECMO, and they put her on dialysis off of ECMO. So the goal for weeks was urine output, and it wasn't working. A lot of nurses and on her, a lot of doctors, different nurses and doctors would come in. Things as a parent that, of course, you don't want to hear. At one point, I do feel that she became, which I had somebody say that she was an experiment, which bothers me still to this day, that a lot of people that were being trained were to come in. She was just a very unique case, is what they were saying. But she was fighting, and I got to hold her under not great circumstances. My husband was at work, and he would travel to work every day in the 2 hours. And I had a nurse come in and tell me that I have to hold my daughter because she's going to die today. And of course, when you hear that as a parent, that was my option. And I wanted to call my husband, and I wanted it to be a great moment. And I just felt like if I didn't hold her in those 5 seconds, that I was going to lose her. So I held her, and that was a great moment for me, but also under the circumstances, it hurts of why I got to hold her. And she made it through that day, and my husband got to hold her the next day. It was a few days before she passed. We had a meeting with a bunch of people at CHOP. We sat at this long table. I remember there was 10 people on the one side and a couple people on the other side. And they sat down with us, and they said that that they had really no other option for her. She was starting to desat and have to be bagged daily, which became more frequent, and bagged like CPR with a bag to keep her here with us. And I'll never forget the day. I want it to be, as a parent, you become selfless, but I still wanted to be selfish. I wanted to keep her. I wanted to keep her here with me, and have her, and for her to watch her grow up. But I had a man come to me on the day that she passed. I had a man come to me in the morning, and he sat in front of me and my husband, and he bluntly said into my face, and I did need to hear it, but he said, I don't know if he was a doctor, I don't even know who he was, I've never seen him before, and he came to me, and he looked me in the eye, and he said, as my daughter was being bagged with CPR, he said, we can't do this anymore. We are not going to, we're not going to bag her anymore. She's in pain. You need to let her go, and you need to let her go peacefully, and don't let her go suffering. She's suffering. And I just stared at him. I didn't say anything. I just kept staring, and he said, it has to be today. And I didn't say anything. He walked away, and I just lost it. I bawled my eyes out. I just felt like every piece inside of me was dead. I didn't have anything to give to anybody. Sorry. I didn't have anything to give to anybody anymore. I was living, but I was dead. There's no other way to explain it. So that day, we let her go peacefully, and my husband got to hold her as she passed, and that was December 29th. I'm sorry, February 26th, 2013. So she lived for 2 months, and it was a painful ride. I found cherubs probably about 3 weeks into her being born. And that like opened a whole new world to me, like that there was like somebody else going through what I was going through. Like I didn't even know that existed. And nobody informed me of that, or that there was support, I guess, out there, and other people that were going through what I was going through, that gave me still hope. And even when she passed, I knew I wasn't alone. Although I didn't like to see other people go through it, I knew I wasn't the only one that was going through it. And after that, we started, which brings me to, if you don't mind, I
No,
could
go
go
right
into
ahead.
it brings me to her foundation, Ariana CDH Foundation, which it's been, she would have been 6. We started the foundation just about almost 4 years ago. It's coming up to 4 years. And we were fundraising every year, and my sister started our sponsors in our hometown of Pennsylvania were looking for us to become a foundation or something. And we took the step and started Ariana CDH Foundation. And not only does it keep her memory alive, but our mission and our goal is really right now just about the families. We're just a small local nonprofit, and just helping the families, assisting them.
Oh, you froze, Ashley.
So Ariana CDH Foundation was started about almost 4 years ago, and really I was inspired by, of course, cherubs, and I wanted to give something back to the families. And I know that so many people travel and they try to get the best care, and that's what our foundation does is basically help the families through a grant. And you could apply for a grant through our foundation, and I mean it could be anything that revolves around your family and or your child with CDH. A lot apply for for traveling. You get a lot of people out of state that are going to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And you can apply for the grant in or outside of the NICU for assistance. We also give gift cards to families in the NICU at CHOP that have CDH. I know for myself that like one of the greatest gifts I received in the NICU was somebody giving me a cafeteria gift card for the CHOP cafeteria. That like meant so much to me because I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave the walls to go and eat. So we just try to do little things like that. And we hold an event every year, 1 or 2 events. And one of our events is a race, 10K run, 5K walk, and a kids relay. And then we also do an event that has raffle baskets, and some people call them tricky trays. And our town gets together, and we do that, and we come together, and we try to raise awareness. And it's so great to see repeat faces, and like people know in my town what CDH is, and that's really cool. And that's our goal is, of course, to raise awareness. And so here we are coming up on our race. For August 10th is our race this year. And we are actually, I did tell Tracy this, This is probably the first time you're hearing this, but we are going to try to extend. We are extending. Right now, we serve families in Pennsylvania. So you could apply for the grant if you get care or you're living in Pennsylvania. So you could be from, another state and be getting care in Pennsylvania, and you could apply for the grant. But we actually are going to extend those states. I don't have a list right now, and I don't want to name the wrong states, but they will be the surrounding states of Pennsylvania, and I could get that for the families. And if you live in those states, they could also apply for our grants right now.
That's wonderful, Ashley. You guys are really growing. That's great. And it's wonderful your town is so supportive. I wish every family lived in a town that was as supportive as yours is to you guys.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
I'm excited to watch you continue to grow, and I love the fact that we work well together.
Yeah.
And it's been a blessing getting to know you, I guess, 4 years.
Likewise.
I met you 4 years in San Diego. Right?
Yeah.
Has it been 4 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're in North Carolina now, so we're neighbors, so which is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can start coming to our events, too.
I know.
Right there, so
I know. I'm excited about that. I know. Yes. And thank you for all that you do. Your mission is, there's a purpose for you. There's, your mission is so big and large, and everything that you have done for our, the CDH community. And I appreciate that. And, us at our CDH Foundation, our mission is small, but we all have the same goal. And I love that. I love that I have your support, and, that it's about the kids. I mean, it's about the kids, and that's what it comes down to. So I thank you for that.
Thank you for what you're doing, and I am honored to work with you and to remember your daughter.
Thank you so much.
And your foundation is one of the first to sign on the charter, and
Woohoo!
It's great news for everybody. So we're airing this Friday, though we're taping it on Wednesday. But on Friday, we'll be reading the charter out loud so that the whole community can see what all the charities and the Alliance are doing. And that's the one drawback to pre-taping. It's kind of, it's rattling time as we do tape. But thank you so much, Ashley, for everything. I look forward to seeing you again soon. And,
yes, you too. Thank you, Dawn. Thanks for taking the time in my technical difficulties. Sorry, everybody.
No problem. Not at all. All right. I'll talk to you later, okay?
All right. Bye, Dawn. Thank you.
Bye.
What's up, guys? Chumley here. Just going to bring a little awareness to a great cause. April 19th is International Congenital Diaphragmatic Hernia Awareness Day. It takes thousands of kids a year, and we're just trying to raise awareness. So, donate, post something, tweet it. Let's raise awareness for CDH, and let's bring it into the light, and let's get people to understand it, know about it, support it, and donate to it.
Hey, it's Kristen Ledlow from NBA TV and TNT, and on April 19th, it's International CDH Awareness Day. I had no idea that it